Hey there, this is Sarah with the Wild Adventures. Today I am going to talk to you about the top 10 mistakes I think that new campers make, especially when they're camping with kids. Today's video, I just want to empower you. I want to teach you. I want everyone to get out and camp and explore and adventure with themselves and with their kids and feel confident in doing it. So sit through this and you will hopefully be a lot smarter and a lot more confident afterwards. So shortly here, I'm going to show you guys my setup for my tent right in my friend's backyard. But what I wanted to say first, and what I believe is something super important, number one mistake is going too big too fast. Basically, you know, hitting the ground running. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you want to do that. But if you want to set yourself up for success when camping, especially when you're with kids, my number one suggestion is camping in your backyard. This is one of one of the most underrated places to camp, especially when you're first starting out. So what this allows you to do is essentially do a trial run of camping. Forgot your pillow, you just run inside the house. Forgot, I don't know, a kid's favorite stuffed animal, run inside the house. It's pretty easy. Versus when you're outside of that place. Basically, there can be things maybe that don't destroy the whole trip or make it miserable, but this allows you to have a controlled environment where you can test all the things that you could possibly need when you're camping, especially as a new camper. You'll find all of these lists online of camping essentials. And when you're a first time camper or are just getting started, some of that can be really overwhelming. And when you do a trial run in your backyard, this allows you to curate your own personal needs list. Those lists might have you heading to, an REI or the Walmart camping section and just like clearing the shelves. I've gotten a lot of ideas from stores, so it's not a bad thing. But when you can do it just in your backyard from that safety, the security of whatever you might need is right in the house. Again, it just really kind of pares down what you do need. And there might be something really, really specific for you or your family that's like a non negotiable that's not going to be on any of those lists or something that you even think about before you get out onto an actual campsite. There's no reward for going from newbie to primitive camping all across the spectrum the fastest. And when you can do this in the backyard, again, it simplifies things, it gives it a good trial run. If you don't want to do the backyard, which is totally fine, again, absolutely your choice, I would still pick somewhere super close to your house. Maybe it's a state park or even somewhere hyper local, just like a very general campground, even. Maybe it's honestly not that pretty, but at least you're getting the experience of just spending a night in a tent, cooking your own meals, stuff like that, prepping even. You're just getting that experience of doing the thing before you book an even further away trip or a harder trip, stuff like that. That both of those things, either in your backyard or somewhere really, really local to you, is really going to help cut down on some of the mishaps that happen for first time campers. So, mistake number two is buying the wrong size tent. When I first started, I bought an 8 to 10 person tent. I literally could not touch, because I'm, all of 5'3". I could not touch the top of the tent when I was standing in it. So if I can't touch it, how well do you think I could set that up by myself with my two little kids? Not very well. So I ended up buying this guy because my kids and I camp the most together. My husband doesn't come as frequently. And so this is a 2 to 4 person tent that I got for us to camp, or for me and one of the kids to camp. Sometimes bigger is not sometimes. Most of the time, bigger is not better. If you are a person that you need a lot of space in your tent, that's fine. If you need personal space, that's a choice that you have to make for you and your family. But for me, this made sense because I could set it up alone. So when tents give the recommended size on the bag, it is never that size. Just remember that. It's never that size. And it doesn't fit that many people, I guess is what I should say. It'll say 8 to 10 people, and it might fit like 4 to 5. So keep that in mind when you're buying a tent. This is a 2 to 4 person tent, and my kids and I have slim air mattresses, foot pump air mattresses that we sleep on, and it fits us with about 6 inches of room between each of us. If that is not enough space, this is not the tent for you. But for us, that works. And again, like I said, I'm short, and so this is really the only way that I can set up a tent by myself is having a smaller size tent. The nice thing nowadays is obviously everything is returnable. That's a word. And so another reason why you would want to camp in your backyard, honestly, is you might buy a tent that you think is going to work, and it does not work because you can only see so much from pictures. There are some places, I think REI might still do this, not 100% sure. I haven't been in a REI in a long time, but they used to do models of tents so you could see it. But again, how does that make sense for you? You know, trying to shrink yourself down to that tent size? Probably not, but you can return it. And if you're in your backyard, that's simple because you're not getting the tent all disgusting at some unknown campground. You're not having to clean it because you're going to be on grass, not a camping pad, as most campsites usually just have gravel or sand or even just concrete, which again, that can totally be clean. But this makes it optional to try out and test what size tent you should get. Number 3 mistake, bringing way too much gear. I have seen people bring chairs for every single camp chair that they have. I have seen people bring fairy lights for every pop-up, and yes, more than one pop-up. I have seen people bring everything but the kitchen sink. What people don't realize is that you have to find, organize, load, unload at the campground, organize at the campground, find, clean while packing up, and then you have to get home and take it out of the vehicle and reorganize it. So, are you willing and able, or even do you want to do all that? I personally am a minimalist camper. I obviously do bring things for me and my children that will make our stay more comfortable. But I think that a huge mistake that new campers make because they're afraid or they're not used to it is packing way too much stuff. The other interesting concept when people have asked me, your kids have camped so much and they've been outside so much, that's why they are fine being in discomfort. No, man. My kids complain just like everybody else's kids. But I think that there is something to be said about letting your kids be okay with discomfort. My kids have definitely learned how to be perseverant and how to push through, how to be hot and sweaty and not throw fits, how to be hungry or thirsty when we're on a trail and they can't get to water or food quite yet. All of those things, I believe, really help shape us and our kids. So letting them be in discomfort, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Number 4, though, which might seem contrary to what I just said, is not bringing enough gear. Especially when you're first starting out. And if it's just you, a little bit more of a buffer, right? But if you're with your kids and you want them to like camping, you, for the sake of packing in a minimalist way, don't leave their prized sweet stuffed animal at home, Don't leave the blankie or whatever that might be for you or for them. Don't leave those at home because those can make or break a trip. Okay? Same thing for me. I prioritize sleep for my family and me. Oh, I forgot to clip this. That's why it's not going on. I'm like, what's happening here? Here's my experienced camperness, not putting up the tent correctly. See, even we make mistakes. Let me get back over here. For me, I prioritize sleep for myself and my kids. That means that I would not say that I'm bougie what I pack, because I feel like I'm still really, really minimalistic. But I used to rough it out with the kids and sleep on a ground mat. Anyone over 30 knows that that is not fun, especially when you've had 2 children. Maybe you're not in the best shape. And again, if you're just starting out, you're just not adapted to sleeping on the ground. So I invested in foot pump, no electricity needed, air mattresses for me. Well, then after a couple times camping, my kids said, Mom, we're not sleeping very well. And I was like, oh no, that's not good on a camping trip. And so I decided to buy them camping mats too. Now they sleep incredibly. So totally worth it. So that I sleep with a memory foam topper because, again, that's what's comfortable to me. I let my kids bring their pillows. Sleep is a priority. I never used to sleep with a fan until this last camping trip we did. And we did not have electricity. But I went ahead and bought a battery powered fan. Oh my goodness, what a game changer. Even for me, I'm still finding, gear that makes our camping more comfortable even now. And we've been doing this for like 15 years. But within that, right, there's still the boundaries of too much. My kids have stuffed animals, but I don't let them bring every single stuffed animal that is on their bed. I let them bring 1 or 2, whichever ones. Again, if your kid sleeps with 2 or 3 or however many, let them bring them. You know what I mean? My kids each have a special one, and then they have their blankies and their pillows, and so that's what they choose to bring. And usually I let my kids, not usually, I let my kids choose so that they're also part of that decision making. And again, that allows the trip to go a lot smoother when they're part of those decisions. Okay, you're literally just going to see my foot at this point, but if you want to invest in anything for comfort, it's these mats. They're 20, 30 bucks on Amazon. You do not have to have electricity to blow them up. And again, this is something easy your kids can do. Okay. Here is the air portion, and you step on it, and it pumps the air into the air mattress, just slowly but surely. And what this does is it gives you comfort, brings your kids involved, because I do not blow my kids' air mattresses up. They do it. You don't have to have electricity. I think I said that already, but that's a big one because we do a lot of dispersed or water-only campsites. And I personally, because I've been camping for a while, sometimes the power boxes don't work even when you buy a campsite with electricity on it. Plus, we do and want to do even more. We have done a lot of camping that is, well, dispersed camping. And so that is when you're on your own, there's no campground, you're just going by yourself. And I wanted to have gear that was simple for me to use, for the kids to use. And again, it just across the board makes things a lot easier and smoother. So I decided to go for these instead of electric powered air mattresses. I do have a adapter that goes in the car for air mattresses, but again, this is just a little bit simpler. All right, so I'm putting in my blow-up mattress. And this is the foam topper. This is a twin foam topper, and I cut it down to size to fit the top of this air mattress. Perfect. You can see it. See? Now when that is pushed all the way over here, it's me, one of my kids, and then the next kid. You can see that fits about 3 people. We put our bags right here along the edge, or we just keep our bags in the car, which is not ideal, but sometimes we would rather have more room in the tent than to have our bags right up in our space. Is that comfy?
Yeah.
Yeah? You guys gonna have fun camping in the backyard?
Yeah.
Whew, it's hot. I gotta take a break in the shade. So number 5 is not prepping your food ahead of time. You hear the wind chimes? They're so beautiful. I love sitting out here and listening to them. I prep anything and everything before we leave for a trip. So I do high protein as much as I possibly can. This is just for my family and what works for us and what our unique dietary needs are. So I do high protein. So for breakfast, oh hello. For breakfast, I crack all of my eggs ahead of time. Exactly how many? Not exactly. I always pack like 3 or 4 extras. I will crack all my eggs ahead of time and put them in a glass ball jar, obviously with a lid on it. And I bring that knowing, okay, I'm going to need 3. Again, for us, if it's just me and the kids, I need 4 eggs every morning that we're camping because it's me. I eat 2 eggs and my kids each eat 1 egg. I will bring sausages, the little links. Again, that's the easiest thing. It's easier than bacon. I pre-cook that. So I cook that, put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the cooler. And then I just pull out what I need each morning. For lunches, I do cold lunches. Again, that's pretty simple. Like everyone kind of hopefully knows how to pack, cold lunches. But I don't ever pre-do those things because sandwiches get soggy, stuff like that. But I obviously do bring stuff for cold lunches. I also pre-cook all of my dinners unless it's something really, really special or one of my kids has requested a fire cooked meal. I prep everything like a skillet or a brats, hot dogs, things like that. I know that especially when you're starting out, some of the glamour of camping is like these Pinterest beautiful campsite spreads. They're lovely. I think that they're so pretty. And I've fallen trapped to those before. The issue with those is sometimes that's not reality when you're just starting out. And you don't want to be cooking and cleaning the entire time you're camping, especially when you're just starting out and you just really want to learn how to enjoy being outside, being out of your comfort zone. So, some of that prep time and prepping meals is setting your expectations aside for what it's supposed to look like, what it's going to look like, and just doing the simplest possible thing you can, which is skillets cooked ahead of time, potatoes, onions, some sausage or burger, whatever, or cook your chicken ahead of time. I mean, I would not focus on having these pretty aesthetic meals personally. So mistake number 6 is not packing enough food and water. I hope obviously that you're going to prep, maybe listen to my advice. You're going to prep everything ahead of time and so you'll be able to plan out what meals you're going to have when. But again, some people will wing this and they'll say, "Oh, we're there 3 days. I'm going to pack this many meals and not plan for what you're doing on those days that you've prepared meals for." So I'm going to talk about not over planning in a little bit. And I already talked about not overpacking, but I think when it comes to food and water, this is an area that you can overpack, just obviously still be wise with it. Especially if you are camping with kids, a trip can go from good to almost ruined when you don't have enough water or you don't have enough food. So my kids we've gone to places where the water is clean to drink. I will still bring my life straw to filter out just in case, but they don't like the taste of the water. And that really, really, really inhibits them drinking enough water and staying hydrated. I mean, I still obviously try and get them to drink water, but there have been times when the water has like a sulfur taste. And again, sometimes that's just inevitable when you're camping or it's rusty tasting. The filtering out does help, and the life straw helps, but you can still taste it. And so, especially when we drink very, very clean spring water, my kids can really taste the difference. So I did forget to grab out of our storage unit where our camping stuff is. I have a 7-gallon huge jug. I literally just got it from Walmart. It was like $19 and it has a spigot on it, which is awesome. It is very durable plastic. And I fill that thing up before we go. It takes a couple days because our Berkey cannot keep up. Um, but I fill that whole thing up. So for perspective, when it's me, my 2 kids, and my husband, we will have some water left when we get home. Usually our trips are about 3 nights, 4 days. So 7 gallons will last my family of 4 that long. That's with, we fill water backpacks before we leave. We fill all of our water bottles before we leave. And that's us camping and using them pretty extensively. I make electrolyte drinks for them and myself. Um, so we do consume quite a bit of fluid while we're camping, and we still have some left over. So if that helps you know how much water you need to bring, that's a good kind of gauge on how much you should bring. For food, I look, again, I'm going to talk about not over planning your trips, but you can have a general consensus of what you're going to do each day or what you want to do each day, or at least like one of these days that we're here, I'm going to do XYZ. So, for instance, if you're going to go camping and you're going to go to a place where there's a river, you're going to have a river day. You're going to be there all day long, get back at 4, 5, 6 o'clock. You are going to be burnt probably, or at least a little sun soaked, tired. Your kids are going to be tired, probably starving by that point. So for those days, or at least the days, the camping trips that I know we're going to have a river day, I say, okay, I'm going to make them even more breakfast. So they have extra protein. Usually I'll pack like a yogurt, like a Greek yogurt, to go with their eggs and sausage and strawberries. That's usually what they get. For lunch, we do cold lunches because I know we're going to be down by the river and I don't want to come back to camp and make lunch, there. I'm like, I'm not a slave to my kids or myself even when we're camping. I want to have just as much fun as everybody else. So I plan for cold lunches. And then for that dinner that night, I know without a doubt, I need to do something super quick, like not even mac and cheese pasta quick. I'm talking, I have literally cut, sauteed everything, and it's in a Ziploc bag. And I literally go like this and I dump it out onto my stove. Well, not my stove. I dump it into the pot and then I go. And that is the quickest way to get dinner on. It's nutritious. It's not, again, well, here's a PB&J, because they're going to go to bed hungry and then we go back to the comfort thing, right? That's going to be uncomfortable sleeping when you're hungry, or they've been at the water river all day, or you have. And again, like, I get cranky. Like, it's not just kids. I get cranky when I don't eat the proper foods. So I would say, just making sure that those plans are in place ahead of time and you prep your food and bring enough for those meals, and especially bring snacks. I cannot emphasize that enough. Usually that is not, like, a parent does not need to hear that. But with camping, sometimes, especially like me, I don't want a full meal when I've been hiking. I want something quick. I want like a beef stick. I want squeezies. I want something cold, things that have been in the cooler, cheese sticks, beef sticks, stuff like that. And I'm not going to want a full meal, or even a sandwich sometimes is too heavy. And so sometimes those snacks can get you over that threshold of, well, I'm fueling my body, but I'm not like packing it in. And so I cannot emphasize that enough, to bring lots and lots and lots of snacks. Let's talk about number 7, over planning. I am very type A, especially when we camp, which seems so counterintuitive. But I love getting the biggest bang for my buck, which buck is a relative because we don't spend a lot of money when we camp, but I want to see and experience as much as I can in the area that we're camping in. So I just like keep a running tally and a list usually of where we're going, of all the things that I want to see when we're there, why I want to see them, what's cool about it, stuff like that. I do that. But what I have stopped doing is over planning my days. So I usually have a idea in my head. Sometimes I even write it down if we're in a time crunch. I know we're going to get there at this time. We could do a hike before dinner, blah, blah, blah. And what that's usually my first day plan. That's pretty simple. And then I plan the second day because that's usually we're there for a full day. And the third day, we're usually there all day. But I would say book your big ticket items. So always book your campsite ahead of time. Always, always, always make reservations, especially down south. We're in Texas. You literally cannot roll up to a state park anymore, pretty much anywhere, because again, it's awesome. It's the outdoor community has really exploded, but you can't just roll up and get a campsite usually anymore, which again is a bummer at some level, but at the others, it's cool to see people recreating so much. Get your reservation for camping. That you have to plan. If you want to do something like a ticketed entry, we went to Glacier a couple years ago. You have to get, going to the Sun Road passes. Zion's doing that with the bus system. Like you have to get a bus pass to get into the park. Other places are doing that because the tourism is up so dramatically, which I'm honestly, again, it was a bummer to know that, but at the same time, it was the best experience because the parks were not overcrowded. The same thing. We just went to Garner State Park not that long ago, and they do the same thing. Even for their day passes, they sell out, and that's it. And so you need to make sure if you want to do something specific, those things are planned. Because again, you don't want to get there, or you don't want to tell your kids you're doing something and then you get there and it's not going to be available because you didn't buy tickets ahead of time. And then you can plan your days around those big items. So if you know you want to do a specific hike, you want to do, a ticketed entry to something, you want to see. I mean, sometimes visitor centers aren't open except for on the weekends. You want to see the visitor center on a Saturday or Sunday, but you're there Thursday through Sunday. Just make sure you plan those things in advance, and then you can do all the other things around that. Keep your list of the things that you would love to do while you're there, and then you can put those in. Always account for drive time when you're camping, especially if you have to drive to places that are outside of the park. A lot of people are like boom, boom, boom on their schedule, and they do not take into account driving, getting in, or getting out, because some places, again, they're very, very busy, and you really, really do need to think about that. And again, the strain on your kids. I really do try to keep our trips. We do one hike a day, maybe two if they're shorter. I always plan something that they will enjoy and that they will love. It might not be the most amazing thing for me. Like I don't love sitting by the river all day long. I like to explore. I like to go hike up bluffs, stuff like that. My kids want to sit in the river, and that's okay. And so you guys can do both. You can not necessarily plan, but you guys can talk it through and say, okay, we're going to do this for a couple hours and then we'll go do this, and just keep that open ended. And again, just keep your list of things that you would like to do and are possibilities. Rain also happens, accidents happen. Again, there's so many things that can change your plans. And kids, yes, they can adapt. You can adapt as an adult, but things are going to happen. That's part of camping, is that, you have to adjust to weather, you have to adjust to injury, you have to adjust to, some things might be closed and they weren't yesterday. And if you keep that list, then it's not so disappointing either when you need to make changes to the plan. So number 8 is going to be camping the wrong time of year. I know this might seem kind of self-explanatory, but my kids are homeschooled, and so we don't have this issue as much. But school holidays are in the summer and in the winter. Most kids get spring and a week off in the fall. So you're going to want to camp in the summer, right? The only problem is obviously where you're located. Come on, not coming off. Sometimes your summers are brutal and blistery. Here in Texas, I would very, very, very much avoid going camping in July, June even. June, July, August, maybe some of June if you go somewhere where it's a little bit cooler. But I would always recommend, especially for a first trip, to go camping in the fall. It is cooler, the bugs aren't out as bad. You know, there's so many benefits to going in the fall because it, even spring camping, you have rain that can happen. The falls are usually drier. Again, we're south, so you would have to take that into account if you're up north because it might get too cold. I would much rather throw an extra blanket in the car than sweat to death at night, because I've done that too. Fans can only do so much. And again, you're setting yourself up for a miserable trip if you don't sleep or can't sleep because you're so hot or your kids are so hot, or you're sweating yourself at night and you're sticking to your mattress. Again, I would rather just pack an extra blanket. To me, I like camping when it's cooler / even cold sometimes because of that reason, because it's just a lot nicer. The nights get cold and your days are nice and warm. Even hiking is more enjoyable in the fall. So mistake number 9 is trying to cook for your first time camping over an open fire. Again, this sounds so cool. It sounds so even romanticized at some points. When you cook over an open fire, especially in primitive or state parks, you're going to have to not only go buy firewood, you're going to have to start that fire every time that you want a meal. Personally, I don't want to do that. I don't want to start a fire every time we want to eat, because that is a lot of work. You are not going to sit there all day long and tend the fire. So, at least I'm not going to. I highly recommend getting and investing, even if it's your first time. It is something that you will use over and over and over again. One of these, it's a propane stove. You can do, well, I don't know what's going on with my propane stove. There we go. You can do, this is a double burner, okay? And I'll show you that in a little bit, with a windshield on it. Again, this makes it so much simpler because you don't have to battle with any type of little breeze. The flame and the burner in here is very, very small, and it will go out really quickly with any type of wind. So even if you have to get a single one because you don't want to invest in a double, do that with the wind guard on it. Oops. You can see how this sets up. This is well loved and well used, so no judgment. So it hooks up and sets up really easy, like this. Okay. And then we just set the grate on top. And I just keep this up. I keep this up on our picnic table. Unless it's going to rain, then I put it down. I always make sure that I wipe it down, clean it up between meals. Ants are usually your biggest culprit. You're going to get ants or even flies, and you really, really, really want to keep your campsite clean. So I would really highly recommend doing this, not using a campfire for the first time to make all your meals. Again, have the bonfire at night for sure. Have your s'more, stuff like that. But then that fire can go out and you can be done. You don't have to tend it all day. Again, not like you would want to. I would not. This is just a lot simpler of an option, especially when you're going for the first time. Number 10, my final mistake that I think first time campers make is not bringing a adequate first aid kit. This is my base first aid kit that I'm going to show you today. I have an emergency kit as well in my vehicle that has more stuff in it. This is just the base. Not to be like over prepared where you're prepping for every single possible outcome, but you want to prep for the possibilities of things happening. You want to prep for injury. You want to prep for bug bites is a big one. Again, I have had many a night ruined by itching because I forgot. Again, this was very, very early on, but because I forgot, some type of an itch cream. Um, if your kids are not very active and you go camping, they might be sore. I always have Motrin for my kids. Again, we do water and stuff like that first. I have a magnesium spray, things like that are a little bit more natural. But again, I want my kids to I want to enjoy camping, sleeping. And so I do pack ibuprofen. I have ice packs. I have Band-Aids. I have ace bandages. I've got peroxide. I have the Afterbite, which is not anti-itch, but it helps with like stings, bee stings, stuff like that. I have liquid bandage. That's a big one. Gloves are in here. Something else that people, again, don't think about is tummy aches. Tummy aches when you're camping. So I carry charcoal, which has a lot of really cool other benefits. If you're, out in the backwoods, you can use this to filter water. Don't quote me on that, but you can let it sit in the water, I'm pretty sure, and it will like help pull impurities. So I have activated charcoal. This helps my kids when they have a stomach ache while we're camping. It's a great, great tool. And I also have, again, kind of a weird one, is bentonite clay. This also helps with stomach aches. Both of these, if a child ingests something that they are not supposed to, again, I am not a doctor. Please do not come for me if this doesn't work. If your child ingests something, one or both of these are some of your best options for poison control. You still need to call poison control. You still need to get to wherever you choose to get to. But these are really, really good options because they bind and they're binders to toxins. So I always carry these in my first aid kit.
Well, that's a wrap on the 10 mistakes that new campers can make. And if you want to see more of these videos, just like and subscribe to our channel. I know we only have a few videos, but I'm going to try and keep doing these once a week. And we're going to try and keep adventuring. And so to do that, we would love to get a following. That would be so fun for me and the kids. But hopefully you enjoyed this. And even if you're a new camper or a seasoned camper, that you learned something from me. That's all I ask.